Hello again. In this video, you will learn about job interview skills. As you know, job interviews are very significant in everybody's life. In this video, I will talk about the important components of job interviews, what happens during the interview, what happens after the interview, and actually preparation for the interview process. As you know, after you apply for a certain position or a job, the organization might ask for an interview. And you need to be well prepared for the interview questions. You need to develop your communication skills. You need to be tactful, discreet, polite, and you need to appear also knowledgeable, resourceful, and somebody who has got the necessary skills, and somebody who actually is able to contribute to the organization. Any interview is a two-way process. The interviewers are trying to get information about you, your personality, your characteristics, your potential, your background, your cognitive competencies, your skills, and also you as the person who is trying to get the job are basically trying to figure out what the company is like, who are the colleagues, who are the organizers, who are the managers, the authorities, HR department, etc. So you also try to get the information from them to make up your mind and make the proper decision. One element or one condition in any interview is trying to present yourself as you are. Being genuine and showing integrity and honesty basically signify your appropriate behavior. In other words, don't lie to them, don't present untruth, don't present yourself somebody who you are not actually. So no pretension, no trickery, no lies, no sham behavior, no fake behavior. So everything must be basically truthful and honest on your side. And at the same time, you are seeking honesty and integrity, dependability, and loyalty from the organization. Preparing for yourself for the interview. How you can prepare yourself for the interview? You know, the active preparation is a very significant process. If you don't prepare yourself, you face problems, you face issues, you lose the job, and the consequence will be catastrophic. So all the time try to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, behaviorally for tackling the important event of the interview. So preparation, research about the organization, and you can check you can Google the organization, go to different sections, employees, events, the managers, if that's a university, you can check the students, the campus, the registration system, the curriculum development system, the syllabus development system, the courses provided, the colleague, the potential colleagues. All of these can help you in a better understanding of what that university might look like, and whether you are appropriate for that organization, you can be a good fit in that organization or not. Whether this organization to be a proper workplace for you, creating satisfaction, contentment, happiness, and joy, and professional development, or conversely, it can create frustration, disillusionment, and failure if you join them. So before the job interview, you need to make a thorough investigation about the different dimensions of the company or the university in this particular case. So you get information about their how you're supposed to attend the interview, about the interviewers, about the potential questions, and what at the end if you might face weird or strange questions. So before attending the interview, try to see what kind of people are the interviewers. If you can find out about them, if you can find about their wants, their desires, their aspirations, their background, their attitudes, their opinions, their simply what they want of you, what they require from you. So all of these can be conducive to a better way of presenting yourself in the interview. So getting information, getting profound information in regards with the interviewers and their objectives. Try to see the potential to see the potential questions. So go through a list of the potential questions that might be asked. The questions about the contract, the potential contract, about the terms and conditions, about your personality, your competency, your abilities, your points of weakness, your points of strength, your aspirations, your salary expectations, your workload expectations. All of these could be analyzed before you attend the interview. So try to make yourself prepared for all these questions. The other important preparation stage is weird questions or strange questions. Sometimes the interviewers might ask you very weird questions. These questions you need to be prepared to not to be surprised or shocked or infuriated out of these questions. And these strange questions, you need to be prepared. Don't get furious, don't get angry, don't get shocked. This is a very, very regular part of some interviews. So preparing for the interview again. If you don't have much work experience, what happens? So I tell you about the potential again problems or inadequacies that you might suffer from. So nobody is perfect, nobody is impeccable, nobody is complete, nobody is flawless. Every single person or all the competitors or candidates have got some inadequacies and weaknesses. So take it for granted and assume it as true that nobody is complete. So you have your own flaws, you have your own weaknesses, but the trick is that try to basically present yourself and highlight your strengths so that they can cover up the weaknesses. Or don't dwell on the weaknesses. Don't be obsessed with your weaknesses. That's basically the problem, the solution to the problem. So one example, if you don't have a certain degree of required work experience in certain field, so you could easily, honestly say that I haven't worked on that much, but I have the excitement, I've got the potential, I've got the interest, and I'm sure that if I get the proper training or education, I will learn the skills in a very quickly. So another absolutely significant question that is always prevalent is asking about your previous employer. So you say always they ask about your previous employer. Why did you leave your job? Why did you quit working with this organization? Why were you sacked? Why did you resign? So you need to prepare the proper answers for these questions. And also never ever badmouth the previous organization or employer. That is poisonous. That is suicidal. That is a professional suicide. Never ever try to badmouth or say bad things about the previous previous organization. So you could say I left the organization. We had a very productive collaboration. They were quite supportive and kind to me. However, at this stage, I believe that your company is more appropriate for my future professional development, and I think my contribution to your company is much more productive than the previous one. sometimes you might ask at the end of the interview if you have a question or not. This is also, you need to prepare for that. So at the end of the interview, most of the time they ask you, have you got any question to ask us? So you can ask about, don't get very personal. You could probably ask, when will you announce the interview outcome, or similar questions like that before you leave. So these are significant issues that you must take into consideration. A very, very indispensable part of the process of job interviews is preparation about the information and gathering and garnering information about the organization. So you need to be well versed about the company or the organization, and first, to know about the organization, you look at their website in advance. It has frequently occurred that people join an organization, and after a month or a week or two, they get frustrated because they did not get enough information about the organization. They did not know, they were just clueless. They had no clue whatsoever about the organization they joined. They did it out of, out of despair or other reasons, but then afterwards they got the point that this decision was absolutely erratic, absolutely nonsensical, and then they have to resign or quit, or they go through depression and other negative psychological emotions of demotivation, depression, frustration. So try to get necessary information about all aspects of the organization through the website. So there is a part called their objectives, their missions, their value statements. So read about their value statements, their mission, their objectives, their mottos, and their aspirations. So there are parts of the website of any company providing you with all information about their objectives, missions, and value statements. Try to find out how the job that you have applied for fits into the organization. So again, are you a good fit for the organization? If the job that you have applied for in the organization actually is a good, appropriate selection for you or not. Prepare some questions to ask them, ideally around the work, such as the team you will be working with, or the work that you will be doing on a daily basis. So there are questions that you need to ask before you join any organization, like in the interview. You have to know who you are working with. What are the expectations in terms of the collaboration with in the group activities? So these also you need to get the proper information. So what are the expectations in terms of their teamwork and collaborations? So sometimes some organizations and some interviewers, they ask you to present to prepare a short presentation or take a test. This also must be taken into consideration. So presentation, it's a short video. They ask for a short demo or presentation of 10 minutes, talking about yourself, your abilities, your competencies, your weaknesses, your interests, your background, and the other relevant information. So the details will always be included in the letter inviting you to interview. To ask for, if they don't provide you if they generally ambiguously ask for a demo, you have to get back to them, write back to them, and ask for the details of time limits, time constraints, the content of the presentation, the questions they need answers to. Spend a bit of time making a one-page handout that fully summarizes your presentation. So summarize and outline your presentation before actually presenting yourself. So this presentation, a demo, is a very significant part of the process of the interview. Before the interview, they ask for it. And sometimes they ask after, but basically mostly before the interview you need to prepare this kind of presentation. And in this presentation you need to appear nice, you have to appear decent, well-dressed, formal, polite, confident, knowledgeable, also motivated and excited to join them. If you appear hopeless and useless and depressed and unmotivated and unexcited, you will lose the job. You will lose the job certainly. So the negative feelings of despair, tiredness, fatigue, frustration, also improper dress, improper behavior, improper body language, inappropriate, way of looking at the audience, for instance, when you're potentially, that it could be counterproductive. Attending the interview. Now, points about attending the interview, literally attending the interview. Punctuality is key, indispensable. Be punctual, arrive on time. If you are late, possibility of getting the job is nil. Likelihood of success in your interview is very slim. So you need to be on time and be punctual and principled. Dress appropriately. So you have to see the situation, context of the situation, the people, the topic of the conversations, the job itself. All the aspects must be taken into consideration in terms of dressing. Don't overdress, don't underdress. But mostly, if you have suit, probably and formal dress in most of the occasions would be a better idea. So casual dress in most of organizations is not proper, and especially organizations which are very strict and they have dress codes. You can seek information about the dress code in that organization. Should any kind of dress code be observed or not? Again, attending the interview, act appropriately, which usually means following the interviewer's idea. If you are offered a handout, if you're offered a hand to shake, then shake it. But don't offer your own hand if nobody else seems interested. Smile and make eye contact. Don't nod too much. Yes, you want to show agreement, but too many nods and you start to look like you don't care. So in attending the interview, again in here, your behavior, eye contact, your attitude. You need to appear friendly, approachable, affable, amicable, supportive through your body language. Don't initiate shaking hands. Stay and wait, and if anybody volunteers to shake your hand, you can shake the hands. If not, just don't do it. Don't hug them or don't shake hands of your own volition. This is considered very destructive and pretty rude in an interview, because in an interview the relationship among the interviewees and interviewers are of formal way, and you should not treat it as informal, casual way of like treating somebody on the street or your friend or somebody in cafeteria or coffee shop or cinema. The situation is quite different. So be on your guards. Be careful about your behavior. These details, which might look like insignificant, play a very major role in your success or failure. So again, body language, you smile at them, you appear polite, the eye contact is also important. Not too much, don't stare at them like that. Don't look at the walls or on the floor as if you're shy or embarrassed or you lack the self-confidence or self-esteem or you're miserable or you're desperate or hence, striking a balance between humbleness and self-confidence would be the the ideal combination. So you need to appear confident, but at the same time polite. Be assertive, not aggressive. Important. So assertiveness and self-confidence are entirely different from aggressiveness and aggressive behavior. You need to control your emotions. You need to be in control of the situation. Impulse control, again, very important. Control your impulses, your emotions. Don't get carried away, and don't be hysteric. Don't laugh loud or get highly excited as if you are in an informal situation. So try to control your emotions, your impulses. Don't get angry if you. Sometimes they probably intentionally want to see your impulse control or your control over your emotions, and to figure out if you get angry or not. They might treat you like, they might ask you very bizarre questions. Just take it, just listen carefully, sit back, and just very logically try to analyze it and answer in regards with the proper question. Attending the interview, again, be enthusiastic and positive. Factor, enthusiasm, interest, excitement, zeal, zest. These are important ammunition in your arsenal of the job interview. All these elements, positive factors and positive emotions, they are constructive. They are very, very influential elements of your behavior and your character. So try to be positive. Optimism and positivism would lead to your success. At the same time, it's not a theater, it's reality. You need to be real, not theatrical. So avoid exaggerating, avoid hyperbole, avoid being highly theatrical or dramatic. These are also negative. They bring about negative consequences. So you have to strike a balance of emotions. That is the reason why I always emphasize that organizations are seeking for people with excitement, with vigor, with energy, with motivation. These are all affect emotional parameters, which are the part and parcel of all organizations, aspirations and goals. So they're trying to find out the people who are full of vigor, full of energy, full of passion. Passion is actually the cornerstone of their requirements. So try to show yourself as a passionate, motivated, enthusiastic individual, trying to show your dedication, your responsibility, your accountability to the organization. And if you show these feelings, positive feelings and positivism and optimism and dedication, I'm absolutely certain that you will get the job, no doubt about it. So these are important elements. You need to know about the next part that I want to talk about is about the interviewers. You have to know that mostly there are 3 or 4 interviewers, and because they want to remove the individual bias, and then the combination of their ideas, their attitudes, could be the result of the interview. So you need to be careful, conscious of the fact that these 4 interviewers are entirely different people with different attitudes, opinions, backgrounds, and some of them might be strict, some might be lenient. So you need to be able to cope with the leniency and strictness and seriousness in appropriate manner. So the other point in here is that reply to the person who asked a question. Anybody who was asking you a question, you reply to that particular individual. Sometimes, in some interviews, there is an intervention. First one of the interviewers directs a question or poses a question, and you get back to that person and you reply. But in the meantime, some other individual might intervene and interrupt. But you need to also keep track of the first individual who asked the question. You might get back to this person late. You must get back to the person who proposed the question at the start. Now, in regard with questions, interviewers often like to start with an easy icebreaker question, such as, what do you do in your current job? Or tell us why you applied for this job. So icebreaker questions. You need to know about the icebreaker questions. Like what are you doing? Or what did you do in your previous job? So these are icebreaker questions which are basically very important in creation of the first impression. The first impression the techniques that you need to present to have a positive influence on the interviewers. The creation of a sort of charismatic influence, that you exercise and ooze out charisma, you ooze out influence, you ooze out energy and vigor and joviality. All of these can be shown through the proper answer to the icebreaker question. The other question is competence-based questions, in which focus is on your skills and how you can demonstrate them. So after the icebreaker question, the questions that are posed are called competence-based questions. You need to prove your strength. You need to show and exemplify your abilities, your competencies, your skills, your expertise, your fitness for the job, your contribution to the particular organization. All of these are called content-based questions. You must make yourself ready, prepare a list of your competencies, prepare your list of your contribution to the organization. Some questions are situational. You need to also prepare yourself for situational questions. So in addition to icebreaker questions and content-based questions, situational questions might ensue. Like, they would ask, what would you have done if your colleague did not attend your presentation? What would you have done if you couldn't receive your salary for a month? Or what would you do in case you are late for a meeting? So these are, or what would you do if you want to ask for a leave? How would you treat your boss if he's pushy or he's abusive? How would you treat a colleague who is abusive? All these questions are situational. How would you treat jealousy among your colleagues? So these questions are situational. Situational questions need innovation. You need to be prepared and creative in terms of potential questions which are situationally oriented. Creativity, innovation, novelty, critical thinking, ability of inferencing, comparative and contrast. These higher order cognitive competencies come to your rescue, dealing with situational or unprecedented, unpredicted situations. So to prove your creativity, as organizations are seeking for creative people, for innovative people, innovative employees who are able to tackle unfamiliar situations. Now, after the introduction of icebreaker questions, content-based questions, and situational-based questions, there might be a question that is called weird questions or strange questions. So some questions are posed by the interviewers to see your degree of competency dealing with strange questions. If you, for instance, they ask you if you were a car, what type would you be? This is a very bizarre question. That's hilarious. Don't get angry. Don't get shocked. And you can ask in general terms. You can have just smile at them and say that if I were a car, I would be a kind of car which would be fast and constructive and comfortable and useful. All these with high standards of production, with high standards of construction. So this is a very general answer to the question. So make yourself ready for bizarre questions. And these bizarre questions are traps to see your reaction. Anger, fury, shock, helplessness, embarrassment would be deleterious and destructive in terms of your job interview. Try to avoid all these negative feelings. Getting back to your weaknesses. Again, as I mentioned before, nobody is perfect. Nobody is immaculate. Nobody is flawless. Everybody, every single individual is affected by inadequacies. And we need to know how to deal with, how to cope with these inadequacies, how to present ourselves, how to in the interview in a way that the weaknesses do not negatively influence the employment process. So what you need to do is to try to highlight and expand and present your strengths in a way that they can cover the weaknesses. In other words, the weaknesses must be pushed away, marginalized, and the strength must be highlighted. That is the only way you can deal with the weaknesses. And anyways, nobody is complete. Nobody is free from weaknesses. Human beings suffer from inadequacies. So don't be depressed. Don't be hopeless about the weakness that you might have. But in the interview, try to highlight and magnify your strengths. Again, getting back to the former employer. A very prevalent question is, why did you leave your previous job? Why did you quit? Why did you resign? As I said before in this video, in this discussion, never ever badmouth your previous organization. Never ever denigrate them. Never ever degrade them, vilify them. Never ever vilify the previous organization. This is very, very dangerous attitude, which leads to your flop, leads to your failure in the job interview. Just give them reasons, logical reasons, and support the previous organization. Always stay polite and respect the previous organization and the colleagues. You could say that I had a very good collaboration with the colleagues, no problem whatsoever with the organization, with the authorities. We were doing well, but the reason why I'm trying to join you is that I feel at this stage I need to make a career move. And this career move, and you give logical, plausible reasons why you have made up your mind to change your job, to change your company. Like you could say that I find your current company can be conducive to my future educational, professional development. This is your company because of the highest standards of education, highest standards of collaboration, of production, and democratic atmosphere would be very satisfactory for my future professional development. I like the atmosphere. I like the environment. I am impressed by the high degree of expertise prevalent in your company. I'm impressed by the high standard of education, democratic education, of the facilities, all these elements which incentivized me to try to join your organization. So these are plausible reasons why you have opted for their organization, and they take it as proper reasons and a justifiable way of quitting your previous organization and trying to join their organization. If you are asked to ask questions, again, as I said before, sometimes you are asked to ask questions. At the end of the interview, you will probably be asked if you have any questions. Ask a few questions about the organization. Not too many questions, 1 or 2 questions would do. And also, don't go to details, don't get personal, don't get emotional, don't ask private questions, don't ask about the interviewer's salary, lifestyle, background stuff. Ask general questions about the organization. You can ask when the organization will expect to let the people know the outcome of the application. So, a typical question you might ask is, I was wondering if you would mind telling me about the date you would announce the results of the interview. Also, you can ask them, at this stage, I would like you to ask any question you think is of significance. Before you leave, important. So now you have done the activities before the interview, the questions, you have attended the interview. So before the interview, during the interview, and now is the time to leave the interview. So what are you supposed to do? Are you just leaving without saying goodbye, or you just run away, or you just walk away, looking at the walls or the floor? And these are very, let's say, funny in a negative sense. That is, they could be nonsensical. They could lead to your failure. So you might have done the interview properly, but you did not leave the room in an appropriate manner. So you have to leave the room in a polite, discreet, tactful way, with respect. Thank them, thank the panel, the interviewers, and then for giving you the chance to be interviewed. So you could say, for instance, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to attend this interview, and looking forward to receiving good news from you, with a smile. Again, smile, eye contact with the interviewers, and important is that never ever ask about the outcome when you're leaving. So because that's, again, inappropriate. Don't ask, am I hired? Am I recruited? Never. This is very inappropriate and pushy, and leads to your failure. So impression management techniques. You need to learn impression management techniques, first impression techniques. I already talked about the first impression techniques. Impressions of you make, and in English they say you never have a second chance to make a first impression. So you have already made the proper charismatic, effective, influential, friendly, and impression of an individual with affable, amicable, friendly attitude, and having necessary expertise and knowledge. Now, when you're leaving the interview room, you need to create the proper impression of the final impression that is important also. The first impression techniques and the final impression techniques are also things that you've got to remember. So final impression of politeness and friendliness, supportiveness could be conducive to your employment or recruitment by the organization. Now, Frequently, this is what actually very interesting part of my talk is this part. Frequently asked placement questions. Frequently asked questions. What are your weaknesses? Why should we hire you? Why do you want to work here? What are your goals? What can you do for us that other candidates can't? What salary are you seeking? What are your weaknesses? First question. As I said before, nobody is complete. Nobody is impeccable. All of us are suffering from vulnerabilities and weaknesses and inadequacies. Hence, this question might be asked. Handle it, minimizing your weakness and emphasizing your strength. Minimize your weaknesses and maximize your strength. Stay away from personal qualities and concentrate on professional traits. Like I am always working on improving my communication skills to be a more effective presenter. So avoid very personal, emotional, sensational, romantic characteristics. Stay professional and talk about the general professional skills that you are able or you are trying to acquire. So you can ask them, you can tell them that, for instance, my interpersonal skills might not be very advanced and very effective. However, I'm doing my best. I bent over backwards. I'm trying my best to develop my interpersonal skills through proper cognitive, emotional reactions and interactions with the colleagues and the authorities. The second question, why should we hire you? Answer this question by summarizing your experiences. So this is the way you can cope with this important question. So talk about your capabilities, your background, your degrees, your work experiences, your expertise, if you have received any awards or you can talk about them. So talk about your education. If you have got your degrees, if the universities are impressive universities with the high-ranking universities in the country, you can talk about them. The universities you attended, the courses you have attended, the online courses and the certificates. For instance, the workshops that you have attended and you've got the certificates, the conferences you have attended, the education that you have gone through, the training, the special trainings that you have gone through and acquired certificates for. So your job experiences. For instance, I have worked for 10 years as a teacher, as a translator, as an engineer, mechanical engineer, as a software developer, as a chemistry, as a chemist, as a chemistry engineer, as a whatever. So all these can help you prove the reason why they are supposed to hire you. You need to be convincing. You need to be persuasive. You need to give hard facts. Avoid emotional, unscientific, subjective criteria or discourse. Like, look at me. I am so good looking. I'm so charismatic. I'm nice. I'm a gentleman. These emotional statements are just gibberish. They're meaningless and nonsensical, and they take you as irrelevant and creating only nincompoop, creating only shenanigans and nonsensical statements. So try to be objective. Provide them with objective information about your background, your expertise, and at the same time you can talk about your emotional readiness, your motivation, your excitement, your dedication, your principle, your ways of your discipline, in fact, and how you can contribute to the organization. The other question that is always asked is, why do you want to work here? Give an answer that indicates you've given this same thought. I've selected key companies whose mission statements are in line with my values, where I know I could be excited about what the company does and this company is very high on my list of desirable choices. So you need to prove that you have not applied for this certain vacancy or organization haphazardly, incidentally. You need to show them, you need to prove them that you have thoroughly investigated about them, about the organizations and practices and mission statements and objectives and goals. And then after the analysis, you have come up with the idea that their mission statements, their goals, their educational, their scientific, their all these goals are harmonious with your career or professional development and aspirations. In this way, you can convince them that you are well informed about the company and you know all the different aspects of the objectives of the company, and you have made yourself prepared to contribute to the company. The next question you might be asked are, what are your goals? They ask you what are your goals in case you are employed by the organization. The goals, there are three kinds of goals: short-term goals, intermediate goals, and long-term goals. So basically, for the start, you'd better not talk about the long-term goals, like 10 years later or 5 years later. For the start, talk about your short-term goals. Well, and your immediate goals, the short-term goals. My long-term goals will depend on where my company goes. That's what you will reply if they ask you what are your long-term goals. So first you talk about your short-term goals. My short-term goals is to follow the organization or the companies or the universities requirements and try to be an active, productive member of the organization and to follow the regulations, to show absolute dedication and responsibility, and to try to take care of my duties as effectively as humanly possible. So this is your short-term goal. If they ask about long-term goal, you would say that I cannot specify my long-term goal now. The long-term goals will be specified later on by the organization, and I will try to follow the long-term goals, and I will try to be an active member, basically contributing to the organization in the long term. Next question. What can you do for us that other candidates cannot? You need to show them that you are unique. You are unparalleled. You are actually different, and you provide them with skills and expertise that are not offered by the others. So you can talk about your emotional readiness, your motivation, your interest, your enthusiasm, and your passion in actually working with the organization. So one part related to your emotion, your affective part, affective emotional section of your entity, and at the same time you can talk about your cognitive, mental part of you as a character, as a person, and you could say that the combination of emotional and mental capabilities on my side could be very, very productive for your organization. I have tremendous mental capabilities. I have tremendous expertise, massive work experience, and emotionally I've got huge interest, huge motivation to contribute to your organization. Hence, in this respect, I am different from the others. Next question, very, very significant. The money, the salary. What salary are you seeking? Or they might ask you, what are your salary expectations? So, this is a very significant question. I think I try to avoid specific answer. This part you need to put the basically you can reply the question not with an answer, but basically with another question. Well, you could say that I will follow your HR department or your organization policies. I'm flexible, and I would like to know what are the salary range for a person of my characteristics and my competencies. So this way you can evade specification of the specific salary you are seeking for. So for salary, again, you should appear not miserable and desperate. You have to strike a balance between, you need to appear flexible, but not too flexible, because if you are too flexible, you appear miserable and desperate. And if you are too strict, you appear greedy and and they think that you only have financial, mercenary motives. So strike a happy medium between the two. Don't appear too greedy and too financially oriented, and don't appear too desperate. That is the key, in fact. So getting back to the main ideas that I discussed today, I talked about, that the focus was on job interviews. I talked about the idea of successful job interviews. How can I succeed in my job interviews after application for a job? I talked about the activities before the interviews, during the interviews, and after the interviews. I talked about the potential questions, the questions that are prevalent in a job interview. I talked about how you can relate to the process of relating to the interviewers or the panel. Job interviews are a very, very significant, indispensable part of the process of employment. But in case you don't take it serious, the repercussion is catastrophic. Some people do not pay enough attention to the interviews. They do not know what to do before the interview, what to do during the interview, and how to lead the interview. They are basically doomed to failure. But in your case, if you consider and you follow my suggestions, I'm absolutely sure that you will be a successful person in dealing with this job interview process. In job hunting, job interviews, that's a multitude of factors that must be taken into consideration. So before the interview, specify all the potential questions. I talked about different kinds of questions. I talked about the icebreaker questions, content-based questions, situational-based questions, also bizarre questions. These 4 types of questions are the main questions that are asked. So before you attend the interview, you need to write down a list of your weaknesses, a list of your strength, your background, your work experiences. All of these are significance indeed. In other words, list of the weaknesses. I told you how to deal with the weaknesses. I told you how to deal with the bizarre questions. I explained how you can leave the room, leave the panelist, and you need to observe all the emotional, mental aspects of dealing with these interview questions and interview process. So in your interview, again, the success, I call it always the interview is like a sandwich. You have the different sides, all the bread and all the the vegetables or the meat or potato or everything, all of them, or like a salad, all of them must combine together for a desirable, delicious meal. Otherwise, anything, if the bread is yucky, if the bread is not proper, if the vegetables are not proper, if any element or any ingredient lacking could lead to failure. So in this, I give you this culinary imagery. In this process of production of the sandwiches, you need to be careful about all the ingredients of this meal. So I'm absolutely certain that following my advice in interview, you will be you will be successful in dealing with the interview process. Here there are some further links that you have to follow. Example of job interviews are given, videos, how to talk about yourself in interviews, how you present yourself in the interview. Also, activities are here. Prepare a list of possible interview questions. Before you attend the interview, you need to prepare a list of possible interview questions. You can do it as an activity. Research about them afterwards. Take notes. Ask a friend to ask you the questions. Mock interview. That is what actually mock interview is, a rehearsal, like for preparation of the interview. So what you're supposed to do, prepare a list of potential questions, icebreaker questions, content-based questions, situational questions, and weird questions, and you ask a friend for a mock interview to ask you, and then you reply to the friend, and then you can see this is a very, very good practice. As I say, practice makes perfect. So if you practice, like you embark on this kind of mock interview, I think it's a great help. Video record your mock interview also. Watch it to correct your mistakes. So today video was about job interview, the elements and the important points which absolutely leads to your success. So if you follow my suggestions, you will absolutely, certainly get the job or get your goal in the interview. Take it easy. In the following videos, we will talk about the other aspects of your professional development. Thanks for your attention, and take it easy.